Perfect. We're live. I'm going to share it a couple places.
Is this the link up here, what's in the browser? Is that what you share, Kim?
No, I actually share it directly from Facebook.
Gotcha. Okay.
So if you go to the Chamber's page, you could, it'll probably be the top post on there.
Okay.
We're going to get started in just a few minutes. If you're watching with us, we'd love for you to go ahead and give it a share or drop a comment in the comments below to let us know you're here. I'm going to share it a few more places and then we'll get started. All right, one more share and then we'll be ready. All right, looks like we've got a few folks watching along, so we'll go ahead and get started. For those of you who haven't joined us before, my name is Kim Baker and I'm with the Gallatin Chamber of Commerce, and we're so excited to have you here today. We have been rolling out the C Show for a few weeks now, daily at 11 a.m. on the Chamber's Facebook page. The Chamber exists to support, educate, and engage our members, which is why we have the C Show. So today we're joined by a good friend of mine, Scott Langford, the Assistant Director for Sumner County Schools. Thank you for being with us, Scott.
Thank you for having me. And both my daughters want me to tell you hi, and they've enjoyed so much working with you.
Oh, well, I love both of your girls. They're very sweet, and I've enjoyed having them in Leadership Sumner Youth so much, and I miss them. We didn't get to finish out this year quite how we wanted, just like we haven't finished out school how we wanted. So today we're going to have a great chance to talk a little bit about that, what this season kind of looks like for the district and for you and your team, and what the future looks like as we prepare. I will add that if you are watching along with us, we'd love for you to give this a share and let people know that we've got an interesting topic today. And we'd love for you to drop some comments in the comment below. And if you have any questions or anything you want to add or us to talk about, we'll do our best to cover that. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and let you take it away, Scott. Tell us what it looks like in your world right now.
Well, you know, it's hard to imagine that it's only been 5 weeks since we were in spring break. And it's crazy how much the world has changed for us. And I know for, the Gallatin Chamber, for Gallatin businesses and Sumner County businesses and really around the world, it's staggering to think like right now, 90% of the students in the world are not in school. And, the areas that were hardest hit initially in China and in Italy, places like that, like Chinese schools are just starting to reopen. And so, I think we're feeling many of the same things that y'all feel, which is, I pride myself on being a long-term planner, and we're normally trying to work on 5 and 10 year plans. And, when this first started, it was like 5 or 10 minute planning. Everything was, you felt like you were flying by the seat of your pants, and then you had to really just retract back and say, what is the core of what we do. For us in Sumner County, it was the first thing we have to get right is feeding kids and taking care of kids. And the second thing is then attending to their instructional needs. So, the care part, I don't even know that I fully appreciate it, even though I was a teacher, a middle school assistant principal, high school principal, and then assistant director. I don't think you appreciate the amount of services that we deliver to kids across the board. Whether it's food, whether it's social work, whether it's medicine, nursing. I spend a lot of time right now worried about we have a large number of type 1 diabetic kids and wondering about their care and, counseling and therapy and all the many other things that we had that go on today. So our first step was to try to make sure all those things were taken care of and addressed. And, the thing that's been amazing to watch is how many great people we have in the school system. And just how, we've pretty much completely restructured the way that we work. We created Sumner Connect in about a week and started our instructional support there. But in support of that, we've built a student support team, a principal support team, a teacher support team, an access and equity support team. So everybody's trying to pull, and as we identify problems, we try to address them. It's been one of the things that we know we face in Sumner County is our tech infrastructure with high-speed internet is a struggle in many parts of the county. And so, we very quickly, Chris Brown, our technology team, they wired Gallatin High School parking lot, Hendersonville High School parking lot, North Sumner parking lot. We got Westmoreland High School coming on a little bit. And I know in White House, they've been working, local businesses are turning it on in their parking lots to give people greater access, which that's not ideal, but it's funny. It almost reminds me when I was in high school, we had this little pharmacy in White House and we'd all go hang out in the parking lot at night because we didn't have anywhere else to go. Kids don't do that anymore, but I guess now if we're socially distanced, you can hang out a little bit. But that's, just the backstory. That's kind of what we've processed over the last 5 weeks. And now we're able, I think, we've operated off a couple principles, primarily as taking care of kids, and our teachers are trying to contact kids once a week, whether by Zoom or by phone or by email or by letter. When they can't find a kid, they pass it up to principal, and eventually it comes up to us, and then we go out and do well checks. Primary care is just to make sure everybody is okay. And then, just on the instructional side, we made the decision to try to put very usable resources, not just hit parents with 10,000 different websites you could go to, but some manageable lessons. Because, I think the thing that when I talk to teachers and principals, even in my house is it's one thing to teach other people's kids. It's a whole different challenge to teach your kids. So if you're in the struggle is real for all of us. I almost wish we could rotate houses.
I saw a meme the other day that said, "Hey, if we continue this, do I have to keep my family, or can I get a new one?"
Yeah, I think it's we've discovered in my house, the school day starts about 11:30.
Mm-hmm.
We're on a very different time frame with a high school and a college student. But I will say I'm proud of my college daughter. Amanda actually gets up and gets dressed. She's talking about some of her classmates in her classes. They Zoom for their class from bed. I was like, I will kill you if you ever Zoom from your bed for a college class. You get out of bed, you come down here, and you work it. So we have different, and I think it's like everybody else. We have different work areas.
Oh yeah,
all over the house.
Hayden is a Boy Scout, and so he actually has been working on some online merit badge work this week. And so yesterday we told him, he said, when you get on this one, you have to get on your Zoom call in your Class A's. He was like, I have to put on my Class A's and just sit at the house. And I said, yes, you do, because you're attending a meeting.
It's been really interesting. I went to West Point for 3 years, and they're shut down. They're online too, which is hard to even fathom. And so they've been the current group of cadets have been sharing all kinds of images of the ways they're staying in shape and how they're trying to do military training and different things like that. It's pretty interesting to watch. I think that's been one of the most remarkable things, and I think it speaks volumes about us as a county and as a nation is you get this obstacle, and we all kind of took a collective shot to the jaw there for about a week or so, and then everybody got up and we just started finding ways to resolve problems. And I think I've been so impressed with our teachers, the way that whatever obstacle they face, they've just found a solution. They miss their kids and they organize car parades, and it's just there's 10,000 ways they've gotten around the problems and obstacles.
I was going to ask about that because we actually had I guess it would have been the Venus Stewart teachers, because that's the owner. And sorry, that was my dog shaking. The Venus Stewart teachers, they came through, and I was going to ask about that. So those parades, was that just something the teachers came up with on their own and just said, hey, let's do this? And it was kind of teacher organized?
Oh, absolutely. The teachers and principals, they all organized that themselves. And, when the shelter at home came into place and it wasn't as easy to do those, they started making videos. I don't know if you've seen Station Camp Elementary. They did a whole Taylor Swift song with all the teachers participating, and they rolled it out. And it was really powerful. I don't know if it's just because I'm getting old, but it hits you in the feels, and you get really sentimental when you think about what the kids are going through. And
Oh yeah.
I've talked to a couple. They said, "Well, my kids love it, but it made us happy and sad at the same time."
Yeah. Well, see, you mentioned something interesting that I think correlates with a little bit of the past speakers. So we had someone from CASA, we had Sonia from CASA on last week, as well as Judge David Howard. And then we had someone talking about mental health yesterday, Susan Phillip. So you mentioned that when the teachers are maybe having a difficult time reaching some of these students, they're kind of, working that up the food chain and going to the principal. Have you all had to do any well checks and, make any house calls and send some folks out to just check on the well-being of a child or a family?
Yeah. So we've kind of approached it, care of our students is our absolute top priority. And so we've built out, like, our teachers are the front line because they have contact information, they try to reach out once a week. And then, so we built a system out where if they can't contact a student that week, then they let the principal know, and then the principal tries to make contact. If the principal can't make contact, then they kick it up to Katie Brown in our Safe Schools office, and Katie and her social workers, our attendance office with Melanie Webster, they divide it up. They work. We've, in a few cases, we've had to go the next step. Generally, we've been able to contact everybody. We partnered with a company in Nashville started by a former public school teacher. And basically, if you've gotten the possible call, it asks two questions, and it's either by text or by computer. And basically, that's like how you're feeling about the instructional materials, so we can get some feedback that way. And then the other is it asks specifically, do you have any technology, medical, any other kind of well-being needs? And what's amazing is, so that starts on Friday. We'd love for everybody, when you get that call, to participate, because it's just another way that we can get feedback from the instructional side, but also just check on everybody. But they pull a report for us. And they break it down into technology, food, health, well-being. And they give you the option to put in your phone number or contact number. And so we're able, we get it on Monday morning, but actually if they see one, they start the poll on Friday. If they get it along, like last week, 2 weeks ago, we got an email from the founder of the company. She said, "Hey, we were looking through the data and we found this family. Both parents have tested positive for COVID. They need food. They don't have a way to get out. Can you, and they left this contact." So, I got the email at 6:45. I contacted Katie at like 7:15, and by 7:30, 7:45, we were able to deploy the resources that we had to help them out. So it's been, it's one of those things where you just got to have overlapping circles because there's no one silver bullet that solves all your problems.
Right. And I think that's what we've really seen in our community during this time. I know in Sumner County and definitely in Gallatin, and I'm sure in other areas, but we've seen a lot of those overlapping circles, like different agencies working together and different organizations just trying to hit on all of those needs. Maybe unpopular opinion on some of the instructional material. I know it's unpopular at my house from the one involved with it, but is it a requirement? Like, are they being graded? How does that work? Like, where does it land? And tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, it's kind of a complete mindset shift. It's a mindset shift for teachers, for parents, for students. I mean, I've tried to think, like, when we were thinking about it initially, my initial thoughts were, what would I have done as a student? And I wish I could give a better answer here, but I know what I would have done as a high school student. Like, I would have looked at my grades and said, here's where I am. Here's what I got to do to get to an A. And that's exactly what I'm going to do. So do I think a lot of our teenagers are going to probably game the system as much as possible? Absolutely, because they're teenagers. But so basically what the state board did, we built out our system, and we went ahead and said we couldn't wait until April 9th. We couldn't wait from March 13th to April 9th on the state board to make a decision. The state board did what they had to do because they had to gather data and talk to stakeholders across the state and they didn't have the luxury of acting quickly. But we couldn't wait a month to we couldn't give up a month of instruction. So we went ahead and built out a system, but knowing that, we can't give grades when we can't guarantee that everybody has the same access to the materials. Like, what I didn't want to do is we didn't want to create a scenario where a child has a better chance at getting an A because they've got a computer and high-speed internet, and other kids don't.
Mm-hmm.
And, and the crazy thing about COVID is, some districts went with mass producing these packets, and every district I've talked to that mass produced packets of worksheets regrets it because it's just not safe to deliver them. It's not, they're hard to get. You have the same transportation issue that you have with everything else. The folks that most need it can't get there to get it. It's hard to deliver. So we made the decision to go with what we have and then use the PBS lessons that are on TV every day, try to hit everyone else. It's not a perfect scenario, but because of that, we couldn't ascribe grades. And so basically on April 9th, when the state board came in, they basically froze everybody's grades at March 20th. What they allowed us to do was to build out an enrichment system. So basically, like, we can't grade anything or change grades, but what we can do is we've worked out a system where if you participate, this is the high school focus. This is for high school only. If you participate in high school in the activities, you can add 1 point a week by participating in whatever the class is doing, whether it's doing the work on Edgenuity, the online platform, whether it's participating in class Zooms or Google Classroom or submitting work to a teacher. We can give you 1 point a week that way. If you're in an AP or honors class, you get rigor points added to the end, the 3 points to the 5 points. For elementary and middle, our approach has been, we've got to do as much learning as we can because the losses that we could suffer if we don't are going to be really a struggle to catch up on. That's going to next year, one of the things we're trying to long-term plan right now is what do we do to kind of recapture those lost learning opportunities. But so right now, what we've tried to do is encourage, and I think our teachers have really done an outstanding job, is communicate with kids. That's first and foremost priority. Secondarily is to start to ask them for work and give them feedback on it. Now, we're learning so much in this process. Like, school will never be the same. I believe moving forward, we will always have a digital blended approach because I think there's so many things that we can do better that we've learned in this, and that we're going to be able to leverage that, with some money that we're going to get from the federal government as part of the CARES Act. And so we're going to get better as a result of this, but I appreciate everybody's patience right now because there are some very real growing pains. And I know as a parent, if you've got children at home, the largest growing pain is convincing kids to do work when they know it's not graded.
Right.
In May.
Yeah. May was a tough month already, and now we've added another layer of that to it. Okay, well, that's interesting. So I think that helps clear that up. Another thing I was going to ask, and this is probably a little bit out of your wheelhouse, but I'm sure you have some of the answers or predictions, or maybe not. I know there's a lot of discussion going on about sports and athletics, and what are kind of the thoughts and thinking and plans that are going into that? Like, are we going to see seasons in the fall? Are we going to see sports teams with viewers? What's the kind of consensus on that right now?
We're hoping we can make things as normal as possible because, the thoughts of Friday night in Gallatin without Greenway football is hard to manage. So our hope and our intent is to play every football game just like normal. We're starting it with graduations. Gallatin's is on the 26th of June. We delayed graduation, hoping it would give us enough, social distancing time to really be able to go back to as normal as possible. And that's our hope and goal, but we would hope the same thing for sports. Right now we're slated to start summer activities with sports on June 1st.
Okay.
But we're hopeful that we'll be able to, I know coaches and players and everybody else are chomping at the bit to get back and work. And, I just think as a society, we so long for normalcy, anything normal.
Hey, we haven't seen any riots here yet, but I think if you took away Greenway football on Friday nights, there might be people in the streets real mad about that. I don't know. I don't know if I'd be one of them either.
I don't think it would just be Gallatin.
I don't think so either. No, I know it would be all across. Any sport too. Thinking about that as a parent, there's been discussion saying, oh, what if we had kids playing without people in the stands? And I just can't imagine being a parent not being able to watch your child on the field or on the court. And so,
or even my daughter will be a senior next year at White House, and she's waited her whole life to have that senior year to paint her face and dress crazy and jump around in the stands. And you just hate that for those kids too.
I know, all of those things, and it is kind of it's definitely sad. So I've seen a hot topic floating around: proms are canceled. What are there plans for rescheduling proms, or what does that look like? Is it just kind of, it's gone?
I think it's pretty much gone for this year. I mean, I think you'll probably, I've seen some funny videos where the kids they do their virtual prom, and there's just not going to be, given what, what we hear from health professionals and things like that, if we had to pick, we chose graduation because that's a once in a lifetime event. And we just didn't see a good scenario for a way to be able for us to do proms with the social distancing rules and, venue reservations. And, and I want to say, like, the venues have been wonderful because, we ended up, most of the proms were in April, and they were so good to us to allow us to reschedule into May. But then, May's not going to work out. So I think, at a certain point, we can't keep stringing everybody along. And as bad as it is, and I hate it, we had dropped a small fortune on a prom dress too. And,
I'm sure.
And we told Rebecca, like, you're not putting the prom dress on to take a 10-second video because you're wearing that prom dress next year.
Yeah, I even TikTok, I know, unpopular opinion, but I do have a TikTok, mainly because I have a teenager here, and so I needed to see what was going on there. But I was scrolling through it last night, and I saw an advertisement on TikTok for like a virtual prom. I was like, okay, they're smart. They're thinking about that. So it should be interesting to see what comes out of all of that.
Well, and I think there will be some community responses. Like, it may be like Footloose. We may have some community proms put together if we get the all clear.
Hey, who knows? What about, going into next year? And I know it's early to forecast, but, you mentioned technology playing a bigger role. I mean, are there already discussions going on about the potential of reduced class sizes and just switching things up and modifying school days? What does that look like?
We're trying to get our mind. That's kind of what, for about a month, it was almost impossible to do any long-term planning because the ground shifted under your feet. I mean, we've talked to principals. We meet twice a week, and every time we say, we're going to tell you all this information right now, but there's a good chance by tomorrow morning it will have all changed. And for about 2 or 3 weeks, it wasn't even the next morning. It was like 2 hours later. Sometimes by the end of the meeting, everything had changed. I know everybody's felt that. But, we're starting to do that planning now. And, our hope is to preserve the school year as normally as possible because it's such a huge part of a child's life with all so many milestones and everything like that. But what we have to be prepared to do strategically is to be able to, I mean, I'm amazed with what our teachers and principals did because we pivoted in about a week and went and made the transition. But we got to do some after action reviews and take what we've learned over the last month and then roll that into next year. And then, make it better. I mean, we're looking at the way we deploy devices. If a child says they don't have access to technology, do they not have access to a device? Do they not have access to the internet? And then trying to think through, like, what are those numbers actually, so that, I think what we've got to look at next year is we can't long-term put the bulk of education on parents. We've got to be able to deliver, synchronously or asynchronously. We got to be able to deliver instruction with the teacher because no matter, I mean, even if you have teacher parents, Rebecca's in AP stats. It's terrifying to think that I might have to teach her AP stats.
Yeah. So talking about that, coming into this new school year are we going to have to pick up a little of where we left off? Hayden is transitioning from 8th grade to 9th grade. Are there key things that he's kind of missed or not learned as he should have or could have at the end of 8th grade that the 9th grade teachers are going to be expected to kind of reteach or cover before they jump into everything else?
Yeah, that's one of the things we're trying to wrap our minds around now. Is how do we recover that lost learning? It doesn't hit high school kids as hard as it does. The ones that are hit the hardest are the pre-K through 2nd grade. But I mean, they're all hit hard because they lost a quarter of instruction. So we're going to have to, next year is going to be a little bit of an adventure because we've got to try to navigate recovering what we missed while continuing to roll on into the next grade with what's expected there. So it's going to be a little different at the start. I don't know exactly what that's going to look like yet. But we're going to do and I mean, I think one of the areas that we can do is harness what we've done with Sumner Connect, which is what we might have to do is just partner with parents. And, this is complete idea. And some of my team are going to kill me for floating ideas out before they're fully hatched. But, I'm an external processor. So, one of the things I've thought is we'll have this platform and we could partner with parents and say, here's some of the things we've got to recover. So we're not going to have as much homework, but we're going to work on recovering, in place of homework, we're going to try to recover some of the things. We're going to have to look a lot at individualized recovery because, in some ways what we've done now is we've run like a Montessori at scale, because I'm thinking like if I'm a kid and I love English, which I did, or history, I'm going to focus my time there. But if I don't have to do math, unless my mom makes me, I may not do math. So, I think we're going to have kids with learning gaps that we would have never seen because they would have worked very well at school, but because of their interest, they focused on specific things and they're going to have gaps in other places. So we're going to have to probably do some type, and I don't know what the right assessment is, but we're going to have to try to very early figure out what those gaps are so we can work together to address them and fill them. But that's a huge question.
No, yeah, and it makes sense. But it's good to know that you guys are thinking about all of that, and I'm sure that you're looking at other districts, and I'm sure there's resources nationwide. So these aren't just internal decisions y'all are making solely on your own. You're looking at other areas. Let's shift gears for a second and talk a little bit about the meals. I know that that's been really successful, and it's been really helpful to the community, keeping kids fed. Talk a little bit about that, folks who are watching that maybe aren't aware of that, and then also just kind of update us on those numbers. I've seen some really amazing numbers.
Sure. So basically, over when we were blessed that it was spring break when COVID really hit Tennessee. And so it gave us a little bit of time to put in place our response on school nutrition. And Andy Brown is over maintenance and Jennifer Smart is over school nutrition. And I mean, they have just, it's amazing what they've done. I liken it. It reminds me sometimes if you watch old World War II video of, D-Day was impressive, but even more impressive was 2 weeks later when the full arsenal of democracy rolled from the United States on a beachhead. They were, we started off slow. We were feeding about 3,000 meals a day. And then it started to pick up, and we have 12 locations across Sumner County. It's linked on our website, on our Facebook page. There are 3 in Gallatin. We have Schaefer Middle School, Gallatin High School, and Union Elementary. So Tuesdays and Fridays, you can go by between 10 and 12. Any child under 18 or any Sumner County student. So if you're, 18 or older and you're a Sumner County student, you can still go get meals. But if you're under 18, whether you're homeschool, private school, public school, whatever, you can go get meals. And so basically you go to the site, and on Tuesdays you get 3 breakfasts and 3 lunches. And on Fridays you get 4 breakfasts and 4 lunches. So it lets us, our biggest concern is we've got a pretty solid system for addressing student needs for our most needy and most vulnerable kids. But with the loss of work and everything that's going on now, we have a lot of families that have never been in need before that are suddenly in need. Plus, we've shifted. I saw a meme the other day that said, my entertainment budget is 0. My gas budget is 0. My food budget is like $12 million. And, you throw a couple of kids at the house and eating 2 or 3 times a day, plus eating when they're bored.
Oh, my gosh.
And you can run through food. So it's a real need. So our last numbers, last week, we fed 80,444 meals.
That's amazing.
In 4 hours at 12 sites, staffed primarily by, our cafeteria managers and staff, and then principals and teachers volunteering.
So again, to clarify, because I know there was a little confusion when it first rolled out, this is not just for families or students that would have been eligible for like free and reduced lunch. This is for any child under 18 or under in Sumner, or any child that's in Sumner County.
Yeah, the federal government, because of the disaster declaration, they reimburse us per meal. So it's not taking out of school budgets. It's not taking out of county money or any way. What it does is it lets us provide food because, we know our kids that are desperately in need, but we've got an ever growing number of folks that are in need, but we want to feed everybody. I know a lot of folks come out just because it's the high point of the day. They've been cooped up in the house for a month and they get to come out, and, principals and teachers, there are principals and teachers love it because they get to see their kids just for a moment and they can wave and say hi.
Yeah, we actually, my husband took the kids to Schaefer the other day, which that's where Hayden is, and we love Mr. Oglesby and the team there. And I think it was the highlight of the kids' day. I mean, Hayden didn't really want to talk about it, but I could tell he perked up a little, seeing some familiar faces that weren't us. And then my daughter, who's 2.5, she was so excited to go to his school, and she was especially excited about like the bags of carrots and stuff. She's like, they gave us bags of carrots, and I was like, oh, good. So I think it is incredible, and you're right. I think it's good for those kids to get out of the house and see some familiar faces and just keep people fed.
Yeah, our plan now is we'll roll that every Tuesday and Friday through the end of the school year, and then our hope is we're crossing our fingers and waiting on some federal waivers. The federal government's dealing like everybody else is. They're still kind of flying by the seat of their pants too. So we think they'll get there. But when you're delivering and when you're feeding 80,000 meals a week, there's a substantial cost to that we've got to be able to. So we're hopeful. We think that it'll open up just like it has, like it did the first time, but we don't have that full clearance yet. But so we'll just have to stay tuned for future news on school nutrition. But for right now, the plan is to go through May 22nd.
Good. Before we wrap up today, is there anything you would like to add or think that we've kind of left out that you think would be important for folks to know?
I think, I try to say this every time is everybody has to be charitable to each other, but as a parent, you've got to especially be charitable to yourself because this is tough work and it's hard. It's not easy. But we're here to support you. If you have a need, communicate it to your school. You can email me. It's scrolling at the bottom. I go by my middle name, but my technology name is Robert Langford. So it's robert.langford@sumnerschools.org. So always feel free to email me if you have a question or there's something we can do, and I can direct you to the right people. But our purpose is we realize what's been put on parents and our teachers. I really am so proud of the work that they're doing, our principals, but sometimes there are needs that we don't know about. So if you have a need, let them know or let me know, and we'll do our very best to address it. But I just want to thank everybody for their flexibility and their patience. And, I'm so proud of Sumner County. I really feel like across the board, we've done an amazing job. I was on Channel 4 a few weeks ago in my other job on the county commission, about the nursing home condition situation, and just watching Mayor Brown and Mayor Holt and the way they responded, it just makes me so proud of our community that even when we face adversity, we stand together and we rise up and we work together. And, we've been saying for this last month in the schools that we're all in this together. And I know it's a High School Musical line, but it really does reflect what we're about in Sumner County and definitely in Gallatin.
I think you're right on that, and I appreciate you mentioning that. Paige and I were talking a few weeks ago, and I think one of the things that we had a little bit of an advantage, which seems like a funny word to use, but Sumner County already collaborated and worked well together before this happened. So we didn't have to figure out how to play nice and play well together, in the middle of all of this. We knew how to do that, and we just jumped in and took action. Hey, I appreciate you joining us today, and I appreciate everything you are doing and the team at Sumner County Schools are doing. We know it's tough work, and we know we're all kind of navigating a new, different norm right now, but we will get through this, and we thank you for everything you're doing.
Thank you.
So the C Show will be back tomorrow at 11 a.m. on the Chamber's Facebook page live. Tomorrow we'll be joined by Mary Garkey with Gallatin Parks and Recreation, and she'll be talking about the importance of parks and sharing some exciting updates. So we hope you'll tune back in, and we'll see you tomorrow at 11. Bye.